You ask the question, how could the Sahabis follow the Prophet in battle? Right? What was your exact words? Let's get your exact words.
How could the Sahabis follow the Prophet when he was asking Allah on their hearts with Sheykh and they weren't hesitating?
So you're asking us the question, how the Sahabis, the companions, they had such a strong heart that they were not even hesitating when all the odds were against them. Everything was stacked against them. Everything. And even seeing that the Prophet ﷺ is begging Allah for help. Because usually if a person is confident, it's not going to show any weakness. Correct? Going to war, especially the generals, they don't show any weakness. But the Prophet ﷺ, he was crying all night. He was begging to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the presence of his two generals that are there. The Prophet is the commander, Hazrat Umar and Hazrat Abu Bakr. It doesn't make sense. So many things in Islam, it doesn't make sense. Because Islam is not from the senses of this world. It is from the senses of the heavenly stations and the divine stations. And it is not to make the man just to wake up to the senses of this world. It's easy, you can do that easy. But for him to wake up to his heavenly senses, that those heavenly senses we had before we came to this world. Those divine senses we had, we still have before we sent to this world. And even in this world we have those heavenly senses and those divine senses that the prophets are sent for us to wake up to that. So the Prophet ﷺ woke up this faith in them, this divine sense in them, to follow him. How did they achieve it? Is it just by some secret dua, some blowing, and then suddenly they turn and they become like this, like they teach us so many times in Tasawwuf, in Sufism, that is what is happening? Those things, they do happen, but it only happens to those whose hearts they have opened. Not open to shaitan and ego, they open to Allah. They have locked it up to shaitan and the ego, and they open to Allah. With one look they can transform, yes. But if their heart is still filled with the ego, is still filled with selfishness, is still filled with pleasure of this dunya, even if you are going up and down, praying 24 hours a day, your heart cannot be open to nothing, no spirituality, because you have not woken up that spiritual side of yourself. You're still busy with the senses. But understand what the Sahabe-i Kiram, they went through also. They were able to have submission to the Prophet. How did they have submission to the Prophet ﷺ? Because they submitted their will to his will. They had no more will. They submitted everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to them. These are the ones, like Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq saying, I've given up everything for your sake, Ya Rasulullah, for Allah's sake, for Islam. I don't own anything. And he asked him, alayhi salatu wassalam, why did you leave your wife and your children? He says, I left Allah and His Prophet. As if he's implying by that, by giving up everything, you gain Allah and His Prophet. And you leave Allah and His Prophet to His wives and to His children. So in order for that to happen, you have to learn submission. Not Islam, Shahada, praying 5 times a day, fasting, going to heart. Not just understanding Iman by imagination. Amantu billahi wa malaikatihi wa kutubihi wa rusulihi yawmil akhir. Not just saying, oh, ihsan, well, to worship Allah as if we are seeing Him, knowing if we don't see Him, He's seeing us. The Prophet ﷺ, he did not deliver these hadiths as words, that we are reading them today as words. He did everything. And then he said the words. And the words, it's only to package his whole lifestyle, his whole teachings, his whole manners. You understand? It's only to package it. But inside is that practice, inside is that spirit. And now we're just left with that package. We recite to each other over and over again, but there is no spirit that is in there. Because what is that spirit? What is that spirit there? Praying 5 times a day. You think that we are the same as the Sahabe-i Kiram? Never. They cannot pray. They pray in public, they get stoned. Have any of us felt anything when we are praying? Muslims are ashamed to pray in public. Have we prayed together in public? No. They say, no, brother, don't do that. You cannot even wear a turban or keep a beard in public to protect the sunnahs of the Prophet. They're saying, no, you do that, you're going to make them to run away. Brother, they've already been running away. And you know what? When they come into Islam, they want to run away from their traditions of not wearing turban and not keeping beard. That's why they're running to this. They know. So why are we running to their traditions where they are running away from their traditions to find truth? Oh, you don't want to find people who are seeking truth. You want people who are hypocrites to come. You want people who are corrupters to come. To say, look, change all of this, become modern, and then all of them, they're going to follow you. What are you going to get? Filled with munafiqs. That's all. You're not protecting anything. Because you only protect things that have value, no? You don't protect something that is not valuable. So if you're not protecting the sunnats, you don't find it valuable. You're saying it is worthless. Those Sahabe-i Kiram, how did they learn submission? They prayed. They said, just by saying La ilaha illallah, they were killed. Have we felt that? Just by saying La ilaha illallah, people are going to look at us with murder in their eyes, that if they have the power, they're going to kill us? Alhamdulillah. The Jamaat of SahibulSaif we have. Praying. Fasting. Zakat. Zakat. Not zakat that you have extra and you give. Not zakat. Oh, it's going to be tax exempt. Zakat, meaning you work. Are you giving something of yourself to help others? You are taking a smaller share of yourself for yourself. The Hajj, that is a return to Allah. That the Sahabe-i Kiram, they wanted to return to Allah. They were fleeing at that time from their own dunya to Allah when there was nothing in their dunya. There was nothing. There was sand and stone and sky and desert. And now, in the place where we're supposed to return to Allah, we're reminded nothing but dunya. They've turned Mecca and Medina into a Times Square. They didn't just pray. They gave up in order to pray. They gave up their comfort. They gave up their safety in order to pray. They didn't just believe, amantu billahi wa malaikatihi wa kutubihi wa rusulihi. They didn't just believe in all these things. They were tested with all these. They were tested and believe in Allah. They were tested with the Quran. That even to speak a couple of words of the Quran, they are going to be persecuted, oppressed, and killed. There are, of course, still Muslims, some parts of the world, that they're being persecuted because they're Muslims. But where is the rest of those ones who have golden toilets? Where are they? That they have golden airplanes, that their wives are spending millions of dollars for shopping. Where are those leaders of Islam? They were definitely not leaders of Islam. They never trained by Islam. They were trained by the West, definitely, and the ego. They're not trained in Islam and the way of the Prophet. If they're trained in Islam and the way of the Prophet, ﷺ, then they're going to be like the sultans of the Ottoman Empire. That they're showing the majesty of Islam without apology to people who like all this glitter. But inside their own palaces, they were living the lives of dervishes. They knew how to balance, because his nation has been given also all of the gifts that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to the earlier prophets. This nation. If we're able to keep things properly, whatever Allah has given the power to all the earlier prophets, this nation will have. Don't you know that? Don't you know Holy Prophet ﷺ is saying? The scholars of my nation, the alim, not scholars, you go to Wahhabi University and you get a diploma, scholars. Scholars meaning alim. Alim means those ones who have ilm, the knowledge coming from Allah, the awliya Allah. They are like the prophets of the Bani Israel. If you say no, it means the scholars. I say, okay, the prophets of the Bani Israel, they split the sea. Can you do it? Prophets of the Bani Israel, they pray. And the manna and salwa raining from the skies. Can you do it? No, you cannot. You can only knock on the doors of your leaders begging for something, recognition. But the awliya Allah of this nation, they have the power of the prophets of the Bani Israel to make the miracles, and they have done. They have the power then, because Allah is giving to this nation, to rule over this whole world. They have the power of Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam. But Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam, he wasn't living a life of luxury either. He was showing the majesty of Allah, just as Hazrat Abdulkerim Gilani, he was showing the majesty of Allah. But he was not living a life of luxury. How can you, when you understand what a liar this dunya is? So they gave up from everything. And whatever that they took on from Islam, Ihsan, Iman and Ihsan, which Ihsan, they are seeing the Prophet ﷺ in front of them. And they are following that one who has met Allah. They have experienced it. They have been tested. And they passed because they were patient and they experienced it. What are we tested with? Or with a little bit of test, we get very upset, we get very angry. Or with a little bit of test, we get very arrogant and stubborn. Or with a little bit of test, now we start blaming everyone else. How they had that firmness of faith. They sacrificed. They were not rewarded with that sacrifice, like today's people saying, if I give zakat, oh, Allah is going to give me 70 times more. They're counting. No. They sacrificed. On top of that sacrifice, they were tested. They were tested by those who hate them, and they were tested by those whom they love, and by the things that they love. Otherwise, you cannot empty. Otherwise, you cannot be nothing. You'll still be pulled down by the gravity of this world, because you're saying, I'm connected to everything and everyone, and all my heart is just for the things that I love. That time you cannot follow. You Shaykh Efendi is saying, Holy Prophet ﷺ is saying, when Mahdi alayhi salam, when he declares the takbir, if you're holding a newborn child, drop it. Now ask, you and me, ask ourselves, can we drop that child? Be real. Then what are we praying for? That ayat is saying, when Allah is testing with the things that we love, and they are patient and they say, everything belongs to Allah and we return to Him. Do you understand what that means? That means now you are not saying, this is mine. This is mine. My child is mine. My ideas are mine. My money is mine. My land is mine. This is all mine. You cut that off. Because they don't belong to you. After you die, it belongs to someone else. They don't belong to you. It all belongs to whom? To Allah. Your child belongs to Allah. Whatever you love, it belongs to Allah. So what are we reminding ourselves then every day? This is mine, I want more? Or are we saying, this belongs to Allah, we are taking care of it for Allah's sake? But that has to return to Allah. Understand? It has to return to Allah. How are we going to return that to Allah? So the Sahabe-i Kiram, they had full submission to the Prophet ﷺ. They went through tests. They sacrificed. They were tested. Until they had nothing left in their lives. Just as Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq is saying, I have nothing else. I only have Allah and His Prophet. Then with that foundation, you can shake the world. You can shake the paradises. Because now, you become zero. And Allah is one. Then He's going to make you 10. He's going to make you 100. It's going to make you 1,000. As much zeros that you are putting, you're going to get more support from Him. That time to have the submission, to follow Him, it is just the beginning of an ocean. It's not the end. It's just the beginning. Because once you cross that, it's something else. Once you go to the middle, it's something else. Once you go to the deep into the ocean, it's something else. What are you going to do there? Are you going to swim? Have fun? Once you take something there, it's something else. Who are you going to give it to? What is... It goes on, it's endless. Ya awliya Allah, the prophets, they are not like the Christians, they're saying in the skies, just playing that harp thing and have wings. And no, they are not. There are so many things that are happening still. Because the battle of Badr, it is not just between 1,000 kuffar and 313 believers. It is between all the forces of shaitan against the Prophet ﷺ. If the Prophet ﷺ is not understanding what is ahead of him, why would he ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? If he's only seeing 1,000 people there, and he's just seeing 313, you think he doesn't have enough faith to know that Allah is going to support 313 against? Then why is Allah sending him thousands of angels? He could have just sent him strength, power, correct? Why Allah is sending angels? One angel could destroy billions of this world. The power of one angel. Why Allah has to send thousands? Thousands against man, 1,000 men with swords in their hands and spears. Why the angels have to fight? Isn't it a little bit unfair, you think? This is when we're only seeing things with our eyes. We're not understanding. Because all of shaitans, they were gathered there in the Badr. to destroy Haqq. It is not just between small group of men, big group of men. No. Shaykh Efendi is saying, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is promising, but only some came. The rest is not coming. Didn't come to Badr. The rest, they are on standby from that time until now, training, getting themselves ready for the big war that is going to happen between Mahdi alayhi salam and Dajjal, in the war of the Armageddon. They are now beyond the mountain of Kaf with the prophets and with the awliya, with our Shaykh, to get ready for that. So now, everyone is waiting for Mahdi alayhi salam. No one is really waiting for the battle. Now, may Allah not make us to be like the munafiqs, that when it comes to the battle, we run. How are we going to know that? You're going to train yourself from now. You're going to test yourself from now. You're not going to run for the pleasure of your ego. You're going to run to work, to step on our ego. This is the training. This is the test ground. Don't ask for something else. Don't test, well, this is nothing. I mean, it's not as if I'm getting stoned or I'm getting ripped apart. Don't ask for that. You are going to ask for that, Allah will test you for that. And those days, hard days, they are coming for the Muslims. First, it is the heart. The heart. Learn to empty it. Just put that Prophet in there. Just put your Shaykh in there. Whenever your ego is coming up in front, put it aside. Whenever your so-called intelligence come, put it aside. Try to look with his eyes, even if you don't really understand how to use it and use it wrong that time. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. He said, I use these shoes my whole life. It works good. I can run so fast. Now I have to use these sandals. Can't run too fast. Because maybe to your understanding, you have to use these sandals. They will say, okay, at least now you're training your ego to step aside and you're getting control. You're breaking your habits. You're recircuiting your mind, your brains. You're going to wear that. Oh, but you don't run so fast. Say, it's okay. At least now you step on your ego and you're using that. Now we're going to say, yeah, we're saying sandals, but we don't mean literally those sandals, but because you passed that test. Although it doesn't make sense to you, but you are still following. Now, we're going to give you wings. It's very easy. May Allah not test us. But when the test, it is there, may Allah give us the power and the strength against our ego and shaitan. May Allah give us the faith of those ones who are better than us, who have passed before us. May Allah have those ones that He loves to be in our hearts. May Allah forgive me and bless you. Wa min Allahu tawfiq al-Fatiha. Amen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Inshallah. All right. Any other questions? Yeah. No. Sorry. You had a question? No. Okay. That's good. After that kind of sohbah, it's okay. Let it to sink in. Don't be too busy with other things. Fatiha. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. As much as enough.